So let's kick it off. My job is to introduce our first official speaker. Jenny Lester Moffitt is the Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs at the United States Department of Agriculture. So she's come all this way to be here with us this morning, which is so lovely. Her bio will tell you that she's the first woman in that role, that she spent many years working in the Department of Agriculture in California as a deputy secretary and an undersecretary. You'll learn that she's a fifth-generation Californian with deep roots in the agriculture economy in the state. So that's what the bio will tell you. What you should also know about Undersecretary Moffitt is that she's truly one of us. And she is a real ally to this movement, to the creation, the movement to create a resilient and equitable food system. And she is all about collaboration, all about building ties between agricultural economies, between consumers, and using those ties and those collaborations and those conversations to strengthen the environment, strengthen our rural economies and our rural communities, and to build better and new markets for producers and consumers. So that's exciting, and how lovely to have her here. Please join me in welcoming Undersecretary Moffitt.
Thank you so much, Kate. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here today. And I just want to first off just take a moment and pause here, because this is the first of its kind, the first Farm Stop conference right here, right now. You all are convening for the first time, and I just want to commend the Argus folks, Bill and Kathy and the whole team who pulled this together, but everyone who's had the vision from the beginning and shared that vision and shared your insight and shared your connectivity with each other. This is an exciting moment. This is a really, really exciting moment. So again, thank you, Kate, for that really wonderful introduction. I was sitting here, I noticed we have some banners here on the walls that I and my talking points actually have some of these stats here. So when we talk about farm facts, we just released the most recent United States agriculture census. The ag census tells us some pretty stark information, some of the stark information that is here on the walls. And the secretary talks about this a lot. Since 1981, almost my lifetime, we have lost over 530,000 farms. That is a number of farms in, I would say, like a half a dozen states across the Midwest. We have lost farms, and these are farms that are family farmers. These are farms that have been around for generations, farms that have been the lifeblood of communities like my own community, communities like communities across the fabric of rural America. So that's the bad news. I don't mean to start with the bad news, but the bad news is we've lost all these farms. The good news is that we are really working to reverse that. At the Department of Agriculture and in agriculture across the country, we are actively working to make sure that trend stops and reverses, and that the chart starts to move back up, that we build and that we strengthen the capacity for family farms to be able to make an income on the farm as opposed to having to supplement income off of the farm. And I think that is a really important piece. Family farms, like my family farming operation, often have to supplement income. My mom has a job off the farm. In fact, where's Thaddeus? She teaches students in the school in my town, including Thaddeus's kids. While that's very important, and she loves doing it, farms don't have to rely on off-farm income. They can rely on income on the farm. And so the agenda and the work that we've been doing at the Department of Agriculture through the Biden-Harris administration is really focused on how do we build more value propositions for farms so that farmers are building their income on the farm, which I think is really important. So how are we doing that? What are we doing? So there are many different aspects that we're dabbling in, right? I think coming from my family's farming operation, we are an organic farm. I worked alongside my dad for 10 years, and I will say the most powerful thing that I learned in our farm and in our farming system is that it is a system. There is not one answer. There is not one approach. It changes over time. It changes depending on what the season is like and you know what, whether we have different pest pressures or not, or what our nutrient management is. It is a system approach. It is and I take the same approach as we develop policies at the department and as we develop policies throughout agriculture, is that we need a system approach. And so the work that we're doing at the department and the work under Secretary Vilsack is exactly that. It's a systems approach with a focus on building more new and better markets for farmers. We're doing that through things like climate smart agriculture, calculating what are the greenhouse gas benefits, what are the ecosystem market benefits, things like water quality, air quality, all of those benefits that farmers are producing through the practices on their farm, quantifying those, and then finding market opportunities so farmers can actually get revenue for those benefits that the farmers are producing. The bioeconomy, taking what traditionally had been considered a waste product in agriculture, a waste product in processing, and turning those into new value and income streams, whether that is renewable energy, whether that is nutrients, of course, like compost and other products like that. The bioeconomy is really another place where farmers can bring more value back to their farm. Things like, of course, renewable energy, capturing, taking byproducts, but also capturing energy from the sun or wind and harnessing that and lowering the cost for family farmers. Things like organic production and other value propositions where farmers can tap into markets that bring more value back to their farm. And then what we're here to talk about today, of course, is local and regional food systems, local and regional markets, opportunities for farmers to have diverse market opportunities so that they can sell into their local food system, they can sell into the regional food system, they can sell into more value and higher value food systems. 14 cents out of every dollar that a farm gets goes back to the family farmer. That has declined steadily over time from when my grandpa was farming back in the mid-1900s, where it was more around 20, 30 cents for every dollar. So the farmers are getting incredibly squeezed, the squeeze at the bottom line. And there's been a mantra. There's been several pivotal moments in United States agriculture, but there's been a mantra, especially since the 1970s, that we need to just focus on productivity. We need to get more productive. We need to get big or get out. And we need to plant fence row to fence row. And while that is successful in some ways, in other ways it really squeezes farmers. It squeezes farmers to a breaking point where the smaller farmers, the mid-sized farmers, are faced with the decision point of getting out because they don't have diverse or better revenue streams to be able to diversify markets and to sell locally. So the farm stop model, I think, is one that is just like an incredible example of exactly what we're doing at the department. And it's incredible to see how this has already been taking off across the country and the opportunities that we see in thriving. And I'll just say, going back to numbers, and I know, and I will say as a farmer myself, numbers are important, but it's also about what it means for the family. It's also about what it means for the community. It's also about what it means for food security for our own region. But going back to the numbers, just here in Michigan alone, while we have seen 530,000 farmers lost since 1981, here in Michigan, just in the last 5 years, 20 counties have actually added farmers. So, including here in Washington County, which has added 10 farms. Yeah, so there is proof in the pudding already. We're already seeing the opportunity to reverse that trend nationwide, and it's happening here, it's happening in your communities, it's happening because of farm stops and other farm to local markets. Farm to local retail food hub sales in Washington County have more than doubled in the past 5 years, from $381,000 to $1.1 million. That is incredible. So we know it will work. We know it's working, but we also know, and I know as someone who ran our family's farming operation, who ran processing, who tried and failed to do direct farm to sales myself, that there needs to be investment, there needs to be partnership, there needs to be community, there needs to be a transfer of information between those who know and those who are looking to learn. And that's why that's why this conference here and the folks at the Farm Stop, I think, at Argus are really innovative in bringing us all together to really amplify that. At the department, we have over 60 programs, 60 programs that are working on expanding opportunities in the food system. That's a lot. Before I came to the department, I had absolutely no idea that we had this many different programs. We have programs like, and we'll have Senator Stabenow here this later today, like the Local Agriculture Market Program, the LAMP program, which is actually a series of 4 different programs that the department offers that are focused on everything from building community capacity to building value-add market opportunities to farmers market promotion programs to local food purchase promotion programs. That suite of programs are certainly thanks to Congress, thanks to the work that they've done through the Farm Bill and the innovation there. So we have everything from the community connectivity through the LAMP program. I'm from California, so I won't love on California too much. Aside from to say, last summer I had the opportunity to see the LAMP program in action, and I visited and I joined a conference there where meat producers and the University of California Hospital Network and other folks who are looking to buy from local producers got together. They're mapping out a meat shed in California. They're mapping out where are the ranchers, where is the processing capacity, where is the distribution and the cold storage capacity and the connectivity chain to get product from the ranch to the hospital. What are the hospital's needs and what are the ranchers' needs? There were so many aha moments, especially from the purchasers at the hospitals. You know, you can't just turn on a widget machine and suddenly you've got beef. It takes time, as we all know. A lot of aha moments, and that is what this program funds, is bringing people together, identifying, mapping out, doing the feasibility studies, doing the regional assessments, understanding where the producers are and where the consumers are, and how do we facilitate getting product from farm to consumer. So the LAMP program is a big part of that. We also, on the flip end, are working on putting our money at the department where our mouth is. So we have 2 programs that we've launched thanks to the American Rescue Plan, called the Local Food Purchase Assistance Program and the Local Foods for Schools program. And this is about how do we do our purchasing for schools and for food banks in a way that actually builds more local and regional markets, strengthens the capacity for farmers to be able to sell their food to schools and to food banks. I think you said right that let's not let another pandemic go by without taking lessons learned, and this is a huge lesson that we learned from the pandemic. We all probably many of you experienced it, but we saw farmers lose markets, whether it was farm to restaurant markets or other markets at the beginning of the pandemic when we shuttered so many of our markets. At the same time, we saw high unemployment. We saw desperation in people who weren't able to get food that they absolutely needed for their communities, their kids. And so we stepped into gear and we, fostered in the ways in which we could, ways to get product from farm to market, whether that was through donation programs or through a farm box program. All of those things were really valuable. That was really needed at the time, but what we saw was taking the long-term lesson from the pandemic that not only do we need a more resilient and distributed supply chain in farm to restaurant and farm to grocery and farm to all of these farmers markets, all of these really important local markets, but we also need to have that in our institutional markets as well. So that's what these 2 programs are about. It's about the flexibility in saying we're not just going to buy from local farmers. If it was easy to buy from local farmers for food banks, they would have been doing it. But it's about building the capacity. It's about building the connectivity. We hear a lot from food banks as I've traveled around the country saying, I've always wanted to buy from local farmers, but I didn't know how to even get in touch with them. I didn't know how to find them. This program is about helping to not just give them a Rolodex and a directory of who they can buy from, but also address some of the distribution capacity issues to be able to get product from farm to market. I was in Arkansas meeting with producers there a couple months ago and met with a meat producer there. And he talked about how in 2019 there was a fire that ravaged through his ranch and how devastating that was for his operation. And thankfully, FSA and other farm agencies were able to come in and help with the acute issue there. But then, boom, 2019 happened, and processing plants around the country stopped dead in their tracks, and he lost opportunity to be able to get his product to market. 2021 came around, and the banks started calling for their loans. They were facing the brink of bankruptcy. At that same time, Small Business Administration came in with some pandemic relief loans that helped build a bridge for him to find new markets. And then our programs came in where he was able to start to actually build a market through processing infrastructure that we've been developing, but also through facilitating farm to school markets. So he has gone from in 2020, 2021, where he wasn't sure he was going to be on the farm anymore. He was going to be adding to the statistics of the numbers for him and his family. He went from that to now he goes to the grocery store. And the pride in his eyes when he told me this story, at the grocery store, he has kids coming up to him, bringing their parents along and saying, hey, this is the guy, this is the rancher who grows the meat for my hamburgers. He has gone from fearing failure, fearing that he can no longer keep his farm, to now he's the pride and joy of so many different kids and of his community supplying to his schools. That is the impact of these programs. So local procurement is a big one. I'm not going to go through a lot of our programs because we have Kate Fitzgerald here, and of course Dr. Boring, who's going to talk about some of our local processing capacity, except for to say one big thing, which is I am a very strong believer, not just in community connectivity, but locally led solutions, locally driven solutions. The solutions that you all in all of your community, they're like hotspots around the country, right? And you're growing those hotspots and you're forming them. But I also believe this as far as government solutions as well. So our partner with the Michigan Department of Agriculture is a really important one. As we implement these programs, whether it's the local foods for schools and the local foods for food bank programs or local processing capacity, this is in partnership with state departments of agriculture, state departments of education, state departments of health and human services, because oftentimes the state or the region knows what's best for the community. And I know Dr. Boring's going to talk a lot about the regional or the Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Program. This is a program that is funded through USDA, but it is in partnership and administered through the states, because the states can identify and map out what is the actual need for infrastructure, how do we best invest these dollars. We have over $400 million nationwide that we're investing in regional processing capacity for what we call non-meat and poultry, and then we have an additional $1 billion that we've invested in building out and expanding meat and poultry processing capacity. This happens not just because of dollars, but because of great ideas that are happening out in the field and making sure that we're targeting those dollars in the right way. So Dr. Boring, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. I know we often surprise you with these new programs, and so I always want to really just commend and thank our partners at the state level as well. I'm going to wrap up just by talking about one last thing before we finish, and that is I talked about we had 60 different programs at USDA that touch on and build local and regional food systems. We have an immense amount of funding dollars, whether that is through grants, whether that is through loans, whether that is funding technical assistance. And regional food business centers are, I think, a really important part. When I was at my family farming operation, it was me. It was me and my dad in the office. There was no way I had any idea that these opportunities existed. But I would have an idea that they exist if I had someone in my region that was telling me about the opportunities that were available, just like we knew about the opportunities that exist through NRCS and other programs that USDA has. So we're really excited that we're launching regional food business centers. We have 11 centers around the country, and then we have one national tribal center. These centers are getting stood up now. Here in this region, Michigan State University is the lead for the Great Lakes Midwest Center, but we have centers everywhere. So look up regional food business centers, find your center in your area. We launched them last May. They're getting stood up. They're starting to build their partnership. What is really key is while there's a lead for each center actually is a network of partners. It's not one central location. Instead, it is a network of partners of people around the country, probably many of you here in this room, who are providing and will be part of the center and part of the network to be able to directly work with food producers and food companies to be able to better tap USDA programs. This is really in the name of equity, making sure that every farmer, every food producer, every person in the food system that wants to be able to know about what USDA has to offer has the opportunity to know. It's about making sure that we're providing our resources in multiple languages. It's about making sure that we're providing our resources through trusted partners that farmers go to. Who my dad goes to for information is very different than who his neighbor goes to. And that is a really important thing, is making sure that we're investing in trusted organizations that are established. So I want to thank you all for the time today. I first want to thank Argus and the team here at Farm Stop for making this all happen, for fostering connectivity. Kathy and Bill, your leadership is tremendous, but I know every one of you, your leadership in your community, it is not easy. It is not easy to buck the trend where it's easier just to sell to one distributor. It's easier to do that, but it's actually better. That's really but it actually is. It's a better system when we have more resilience, when we have a distributed supply chain, when we have the opportunity for farmers to see different places where they can bring their product to, higher, more value opportunities. So thank you for all the work that you do. And I'm excited to hear the rest of the conversation. But I know just from what I hear from how you described the day, there's going to be a lot of learning happening. And I'm really excited for this opportunity today. And again, it is a real honor to be here at the very first of this type of conference. So thank you.